It's 6 a.m, the 1st of January. Everything's quiet. Apart from the team hard at work preparing for the biggest event of its kind in the world. By midday, following years of planning, everything will be ready, and well over 500,000 people will be lining the streets, waiting for the action to start.
Good morning. May I steal one moment to wish everyone here a prodigiously happy New Year. I have here a letter from Buckingham Palace.
It's London's New Year's Day parade, a turn-of-the-year tradition. 4 decades entertaining London, the UK, and in recent times, the whole world. The very best of British pomp, circumstance and ceremony, combined with a wealth of multicultural heritage from across the city and beyond. What many Americans may not know, London loves band, and in particular, the US marching band culture. Londoners have really taken US high school and university marching bands to their hearts and made them an important and highly popular component of their New Year celebrations. I'm Joe Bone, and I'm Director of Participation for London's New Year's Day Parade. It's my job to put together the fantastic display of talent and entertainment that make up the parade. More than 8,000 people take part in the parade on January the 1st, and arranging the event creates some interesting challenges and an enormous amount of pinpoint planning. Months and years before a group steps off or a single cheerleader raises a pom-pom, we're scouting out the very best entertainers, and the USA is a rich source of high-class talent. My dad, Bob Bone, is the co-founder and executive director of London's New Year's Day Parade.
January the 1st really was dismal. And we didn't vow to do something about it there and then, but did get to thinking, maybe it would be quite fun to do something a bit different and a bit special, to brighten up London on New Year's Day, to bring people in, to bring the city to life. So we came up with this idea of marching band-based parade, a razzmatazz American-style parade, and we thought if we could blend that with all of the English pomp and circumstance and a little bit of history and British culture, then we might possibly have a bit of a winner on our hands, and we'll certainly have something that would bring a bit of life to the centre of London on January the 1st.
Bob and I sat down to plan out my latest trip. We wanted to find out more about some of the groups preparing to come to London at the turn of the year and perform on this huge world stage. We think we found some extraordinary talent, all with amazing and uplifting stories. These young musicians will certainly strike a chord with the people of London.
Great bands for London's parade over the years. Do you remember a couple of years ago when we had the masked Georgia bands doing the finale? We had 6 bands from there. But anyway, this year it's the chance of Parkview, a first-timer, I think. And they've got an awful lot of community support as well, haven't they, from their mayor?
I believe so. The mayor is very supportive of their trip. I think he might actually be coming. And in Lilburn, there's a very interesting mayor.
And I played a sousaphone, tuba, and people used to throw stuff in the bell up there, and by the end of the time, I'm like really struggling. So these kids have no idea what's about to happen to them. They think I'm just going to London.
Okay. So you're zooming across from Georgia to Tennessee. It's not actually Nashville, is it? It's a suburb of Nashville called Hendersonville, but I've got a feeling there's the really terrific backstory there on the band, because it's got a connection with Johnny Cash, got a connection with Taylor Swift.
It does, and do you know that Hendersonville was actually created as a town for the artist offshoot of Nashville? So it's full of musicians, artists. Yeah.
So each generation seems to get more talented and more musical, and the arts are a big part of this community.
What are we doing then? We're striking a bit further west, aren't we?
Yeah.
Going to Oklahoma. It's just outside Oklahoma City, isn't it? It's actually a repeat band, a band that's come before called Southmore High School, as I recall.
Quite a moving backstory on this one, actually, which we'll delve into more in the programme. But yeah, it's a town that was really...
Oh, that's right.
We heard about a police officer called Alan Wallace, who helped on the day the tornado struck, and now works with Southmore High School Band, after helping to put on a halftime show called Forevermore.
That show helped me heal so much and helped me be able to talk about it, that I don't know without that show that I'm even honestly still a police officer, still working with the band, or maybe even still alive. I don't know.
It was London's New Year's Day parade that actually got the community back on its feet, had something to aim for, something to strive
100%.
for. And
From Oklahoma, it's due east, as we head to Huntington, West Virginia.
that is a terrific group up there. That's Marshall University, I know, and they too have one of the great backstories, I think.
Had a terrible plane crash in 1970,
Oh, right, okay.
which wiped out the entire football team.
Oh, my friend's dad was on that plane. You know, I have friends that I know today, and their parents were both on the plane. And so you come to the fountain, to the ceremony in the fall, and you realize now suddenly that, hey, this really did touch these people.
So you'll be developing that story on later on.
I hope
yeah?
so.
I hope so, yeah. And then it's just a little hop then, but you've probably got to go back to Charlotte before you go
we
north.
do, yeah.
Over to New York State and to Port Chester. And it's been a heck of an endeavour for the Saints Drummer Bugle Corps to get everything together to be able to come to London's Parade. But, you know, with a lot of community support again and a lot of very generous donations, I think,
Huge.
they're actually going to make it.
Minorities, basically Hispanic for the most part, hardworking families. You know, none of us get by easy, so, you know, we all struggle together, and they're resilient, they're gritty, they're tough, you'll see it through our uniform. It's basically who we are. You know, we're fighters, and the kids are determined, and they're going to make their way through life, and this is just, you know, I think it's scratching the surface to parade on what their potential is.
See how we get on with this lot, first of all, and good luck to you.
Yes, thank you. A lot of flying, but I'm looking forward to it. With so many miles to travel and states to visit, it's time to get going. I always feel a real sense of excitement as the trip begins. I know it's going to be a lot of work, but also a great joy to meet so many of our parade participants. And first stop is Lilburn, northeast of Atlanta, Georgia. And we hear there's a mayor who loves bands.
Hi, I'm Johnny Chris, the mayor of the city of Lilburn, Georgia, and I love band! Woo!
Mayor John D. Christ is certainly quite a character. His passion for band is infectious. The band often rehearse near the window of his office in City Hall, and he's been known on occasion to break off important meetings to get out there and enjoy their music.
The interesting part about our city is the fact that we're one of the most diverse cities in the entire state of Georgia. We've got, if you want to go around the world has come here. So we've got good old Southern boys and girls, never been outside the state, and we've got people here that have immigrated. And so we have a collection of just lots of culture here that makes this just a really rich city in which to live.
It does seem to be a community effort. I mean, we've come here today to the sort of City Hall, and the mayor's involved. Senior figures are actually supporting the band.
Yeah.
I mean, does that put a little bit more pressure on, or does it sort of spur you to achieve even greater things?
It makes me realize how important this is, and it makes me realize how important it is that we continue to work with our community. In fact, community and culture are two of the big things that we really talk to the kids about, being involved in the community, making sure that you're good stewards, good neighbors to each other, to the community, to the other students in the school, to the people who are just living in the city of Lilburn and the county of Gwinnett and the city of Atlanta. You know, we feel like we're representing the entirety of the city of Atlanta and the state of Georgia when we come up here. And so it's a lot of weight on our shoulders, but the kids are excited, I'm excited, and it's going to be fun.
You see, the mayor's excited. excited as well.
Oh, I know. Yeah, it's great. I love seeing him out there. You know, he does support us a lot. He's out with us a lot. He cheers us on. He sends emails. You know, he comes to our parades and whatnot. So we really enjoy that.
That's absolutely brilliant.
My mother got me playing trumpet when I was about 4. And our goal was to be in the drum and bugle corps of our local city up in Pennsylvania, up in the north. And so the idols of my life when I was 4 were these high school seniors and juniors that actually could march, they could turn corners, they could play their drums, and so I've had a fascination with this all my life. Now, I need to tell you that my trumpet career really died in high school, but just the fascination with music and how rich music is and how music incorporates mathematics into a person's life and how you have to stay on rhythm and on point and be able to create a wonderful synergy together with the whole band. It's just incredible.
Big question. Obviously, huge amount of dedication goes into being in this band. So why do you guys do it?
I did it mainly for the people. I get to see how much fun it was being around all the people. It was a lot of fun.
A lot of fun.
Yeah.
Big sense of community, I'm guessing,
Yes.
right? So what kind of hours do you rehearse?
We rehearse a lot of hours, but we rehearse 3 hours on Tuesday and Thursday, and then starting now, since competition's about to come up, we also do a 2-hour rehearsal on Monday. Oh, wow. So it's like 3 days a week. We have at least 8-9 hours of rehearsal.
Why did you become a band director?
It's an awesome career. You know, some days I ask myself the same question, but, you know, when you're working with kids, there's no better job in the world than working with kids. And I had this wonderful opportunity to be in a community that supports me. They encourage us. They push us. Our government pushes us. It's a wonderful place that I get a chance to actually change the lives of students. And who else can say that they get to change the lives of students? And it's such a cool career.
I used to play in the band. And so I'm familiar with what it's like to do a 3-mile march. And I played a sousaphone, tuba, and people used to throw stuff in the bell up there, and by the end of the time, I'm like really struggling. So these kids have no idea what's about to happen to them. They think I'm just going to London, but watch. It'll be a game changer for most of these kids.
So you're both coming to London?
Yes.
What are you most looking forward to?
Actually, just going out of the country. This is my first time I'm ever going to leave the country, so very excited about that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to meet the people. I like meeting people. I'm a people person, so meeting the people of London would be cool.
Excellent. Well, I tell you, it's going to be a lot cooler. I can guarantee that. I mean, yeah, it's definitely pretty hot here. But guys, it's lovely to meet you. You seriously talented band, and can't wait to see you in London.
Thank you.
Well, we're off to a great start in Georgia, but up next, our journey takes us to Nashville, Tennessee. We Brits know Nashville as the home of country music, but there's so much more to this amazing city, and I'm off to explore a town just a short drive from downtown Nashville that's got music embedded in its DNA.
Got a baby girl sleeping in my bedroom and her mama laughing in my arms. There's the sound of rain on the rooftop and the game's about to start.
At the end of Johnny Cash Parkway, we find Hendersonville, which is in total harmony with its musical heritage. With a population of just 54,000, Johnny Cash, June Carter Cash, Taylor Swift, Kelly Clarkson, and Roy Orbison are just some of the famous names associated with this small community. And those stars have had a big influence on the young talent that live here today.
The Hendersonville High School Band is what pulled me through high school. Without them, you know, math and science just didn't seem to do it for me. But, you know, the Hendersonville High School has just been a staple in my life. You know, everything my life has become, you know, it started really at Hendersonville.
Hendersonville was almost nothing until the 1960s. What happened was a lake was developed here, and then a lot of people involved in the music industry came from Nashville and came from other parts of the world to live here. And the music business really helped develop Hendersonville, and now we're celebrating our 50th anniversary as a city.
We're a suburb here of the music city, you know, country music capital of the world just happens to be here. And, you know, you gotta pay homage there to the Grand Ole Opry, you know, that's been around since 1925. You know, that started right here in this town.
Our family moved to Hendersonville in 1965, and music is what brought our family to town. My father was a gospel singer, sang with a group called the Oak Ridge Boys. They've been abroad several times, It was a bedroom community just like Beverly Hills is to Hollywood, where the stars lived in Beverly Hills outside of Hollywood, LA. Hendersonville was sort of that way for the music community. It was a small town. When we moved here, maybe 3,000 people outside of Nashville, but it seemed that all the creative types kind of moved out this way.
You know, when I was in the Hendersonville band, I was a drummer, which, of course, we were always rebels. The drummers, drumline's always rebels. But you learn about music and how it all comes together and the ritual of practice and why practice is so important and how hard work continues to pay off, you know, and that's what it did for me. You know, I loved all styles of music and I learned that straight from the Hendersonville band, you know.
Well, we practice, for the marching band, we practice 3 days a week after school for about an hour and a half each day. And then we have a band class during the day also. It meets every day of the week.
Perfect. I mean, they seem like an amazing bunch of students, obviously very dedicated to what they do.
It's a very good group, lots of good leadership. And we kind of work with them from 9th grade on up to take some responsibility for the group. And, you know, they really have ownership in the band.
I think, would it be fair to say, and tell me if I'm wrong, that being from Nashville, there really is a passion for music. You know, I can see it. You know, I can see it with you. I can see it with your students. And can you bring that passion to London, please?
I hope so. You know, we have it here in the city, and you know, the kids kind of grow up with it, and it's just sort of part of what we do with the entertainment industry. And so, hopefully, we can bring that over there and entertain the folks.
Just songwriters, musicians, they come from all over the world to come to Nashville. Well, Hendersonville, here we are about 20 miles outside of Nashville, perfect suburb, sitting right here on the lake. You know, it's a natural draw, and man, back in the 70s, man, you had everybody from Johnny Cash, Barbara Mandrell, the Oak Ridge Boys. Oak Ridge Boys still live here. A lot of Opry stars lived here. This was just the place.
Johnny didn't go to school here, but he lived here in Hendersonville.
And donated uniforms?
Right, the first uniforms that were bought for the Hendersonville band, he put on a concert and raised money for the band to get those. And he also put on another concert, I think later, to send the band on a trip to the Orange Bowl down in Florida back in the 60s and the 70s.
Oh, wow, that's yeah, it's quite some history, isn't it? So I mean, you couldn't really be any more Nashville than that, right. You know, with Johnny Cash supporting the band. Amazing students, as we've touched on. Can you see any of them being the next, you know, the next big superstar?
Very possible. You know, a lot of them, because of the music stuff that we do in high school, go on and study, and who knows where they might go from here.
They're the next generation of children. We're all surrounded about that. So each generation seems to get more talented and more musical, and the arts are a big part of this community. These are my kids right here, and Elizabeth is a student teacher here, and this is my son Elijah. He's in the select chorus, and I'm so proud of them. Their sister's up in Chicago taking musical theater at Columbia College in downtown Chicago. So anyway, glad to have them here, and it's wild to see y'all here.
It's super strange.
Yeah.
Boy, going to other places in the world, especially, you know, the first time I left the country, I went to Europe, and London was the first stop, and which I'm sure is for many. And just to get to London and you see that city, you know, and you see the double-decker red bus that you've seen on television your whole life.
I've been fortunate to travel most of my life. That's what I do. I make music, and I've been blessed to make my living making music, and I've gotten to travel abroad several times, and there's always things that you learn when you go to different places that you could never learn in a book. Seeing a picture of a place is a whole lot different than being there, witnessing it, and having your picture made in front of that site. Or it's just, it brings on a whole nother level of education for these kids to be able to go visit and to experience what they're getting ready to experience. And we're just so excited for them, you know.
Yeah, I'm jealous that they get to perform like they're going to get to perform. I'm very jealous that our band gets to do that. To have that opportunity, I think, is going to be a tremendous impact on what they get to do in the future. At the same time, we have the opportunity, the city of Hendersonville, to show our name and to show something that we should be very proud of in our kids, our students. We get to show that to everybody in the world. And I look forward to people knowing more about Hendersonville, Tennessee, possibly coming to visit us, possibly bringing their business here, possibly moving here.
I've only been once, and I'm just looking forward to going back and being with the kids and watching their reaction to some of the things that I've seen over there. It's just a great city, and looking forward to how they react to everything.
Hendersonville is clearly steeped in musical history, but for the students of today, someone like Taylor Swift, who actually attended Hendersonville High School before going on to huge music superstardom, must be an inspiration for their own musical aspirations. And I'm sure we'll see that when they come and perform in London.
On the road again, just can't wait to get on the road again.
And whilst we were in Tennessee, we couldn't miss the chance to catch up with Jeff Webb and the cheerleaders and dancers of Varsity Spirit.
You know, our participation with the London Parade has, it started as, you know, our wanting to take the young people that are involved in our programs, give them a new opportunity, take them to London, take them to a different country, and have them get together with cheerleaders and really young people from bands and choirs from all over the world and create kind of this unique cultural experience. So it's definitely a strong part of what we do and something we've been proud to be associated with.
And what is it about London that you love so much?
Well, I think the fact that we speak the same language. No,
yes, we do,
that's
we
just
do.
one.
Well, with an accent, you know.
London is London. It's like, you know, one of the greatest cities in the world, and we've gotten such great participation from you guys, the parade organizers. The people there have embraced our cheerleaders. When we first started coming, you know, most people in London had never really seen American cheerleading, and it was a very unique thing. And now, of course, not only have they seen it, we've actually, from the parade, the seeds of the parade, we now have cheerleading in the UK, and it's growing and it's vibrant. So it's been a great experience for us. We love going to London. Our kids love going to London. It's just a great experience for them.
Jeff Webb is the founder of this unique organisation, and every year he brings the cheer to New Year. He's championed cheerleading and revolutionised the art form, even turning it into an Olympic sport. But time to put down the pom-poms and head for the airport, to a story that's both tragic and inspirational in equal measure. May the 20th, 2013 is a day that will live long in the memory of Moore, Oklahoma. A Category 5 tornado, the most destructive of all, ripped through the very heart of the community. There was an appalling death toll, including many children at a local elementary school, which was completely destroyed. 6 years later, many of the survivors of that fateful day attend Southmore High School, and a good number of those survivors are in the marching band who are preparing to perform in London.
At the school, I think we lost 7 children that day, which, you know, is one of the hardest things I think most of us deal with.
It was just a very off day. You could tell like something was going to happen. They were giving out warnings on the TV, and we haven't really experienced that in a lot of years. So it was kind of like high alert, but nobody knew what was going on. And then all of a sudden, just got really black outside, and it started hailing like big chunks of hail. It was like, you know, like the big thud, 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 just constantly hitting. And then you'd hear the sirens go off, and it's like ear-shaking to hear them because like it's all over the place, just all the sirens are going off. And then you just hear stuff being ripped off.
And what I recall is starting getting phone calls from everyone, hey, there's a tornado on the horizon. What are we going to do with the students? How are we going to handle that situation here? 20 minutes out, we don't know where it's going. What was unique about that day, I think that's not talked about a lot, kids were still in school, and that's what caused the terror of the day. Our tornadoes here usually happen later in the day, but since kids were at school, parents couldn't get to their students. That's the psychological impact that we have. And I went outside and saw this massive tornado and thinking, I don't know what it's hitting, but I know it's hitting places that are populated.
Policeman Alan Wallace was the first responder on the scene that day, saving lives despite himself being in mortal danger.
That day started as a normal day. We knew there was a chance of severe weather. It was me and my partner. There's two of us at this school because it's so big. So we watched the weather. We knew kids went to school. My wife was working in Norman at the time. And then the storm started to develop. We get out of school at about 3:11 in the afternoon. So this was coming right about the time we were getting ready to let the kids out. Okay. Parents were pulling up. They decided to take all the kids to their shelter places, which is downstairs inside at the time. The storm shelters weren't built yet.
The parents who are trying to get their kids, but can they beat the tornado in time to get their kids? And then the power going out. I think if you're not around an area that has tornadoes, it's really hard to understand what they are. There's not a lot of rain around. There's not even a lot of sound. It's kind of interesting. It's just clouds moving, and what I vividly remember is seeing debris coming out of clouds. And once you see debris, you know that property's being hit, you know that people are being affected, and you know that this is a real bad situation. What was unique about our day, this was one of the most powerful winds recorded on Earth when you're talking about an F5 tornado. And what's even worse is that it hit a populated area. A lot of times those hit in the middle of fields. So in terms of how they feel, it's like having the wind sucked out of you. There's a low pressure there, and your skin feels prickly, your heart's beating, and it's loud and then silent.
And the air almost turns to a gray or a brown color. The closer it got, well, then the installation and stuff starts landing here. There's pieces of house, pieces of roof, installation, like all kinds of stuff. I looked to the northwest, and I could see from here all the way to the interstate of I-35, which is about, at the angle, it was about a 2-mile trip. And everything between here and there were absolutely 100% leveled. My brother lived between where I was at and the interstate. Oh, wow. My nephew was actually at school in between where I was at and where the road is. So my thoughts went to that. And I immediately made the decision to head that way. So I parked my car and I bailed out and I took off that direction. There were some civilians already there. I climbed up the rubble, and I came across some teachers and some students that were in the bathroom of that building that was still standing.
I have elementary school kids now in my house, and I don't know if you can put into words what a parent is feeling away from their child that they can't get to. They look at a television screen and their school's gone. I think that those are the emotions that linger to the day and what affects this community. So you don't know until days later the magnitude, but you're fearing the worst in the moment.
They were third graders, I believe. So pretty young. We start picking them up and moving them. Now all these kids are mobile. They're not injured. I then asked one of the teachers as we're there, I said, is there anybody else? And I don't remember how she told me or what she told me, but she basically told me yes. And she pointed to the rubble pile that I was now on the other side of.
My boyfriend of 3 years now was actually stuck in a bathroom at Briarwood, and he was underneath the sink whenever the wall started collapsing around him.
Really?
Yeah, and he had friends who were stuck in the mud, like underneath it, and they had to dig them out.
So we start digging. We start digging with our hands. We get through it, and unfortunately, we don't get everybody out, but thankfully we got several out. Some teachers, multiple students. I was here till probably 2 or 3 that morning.
That's a lot of hours.
Yeah, and eventually we were ordered to go home because we had to be back at 7. So the night shift came on, they continued, and then we came back at 7, and then we worked 12-hour days straight for about a month.
We were fortunate that we have first off, that we have a law enforcement officer at all that works for our students and to be a role model. Not only that, be a member of the community and a role model, but this man is a guy who doesn't talk about it much, who literally was the first on the scene, pulling bodies out of a school, elementary-aged bodies out of a school. And what that journey is, we can't fully understand. He gives us bits and pieces.
You never really, I guess, get over it, but to be able to deal with it and talk about it, and not break down and not go into the fetal position. And it's still kind of hard to see it. And honestly, this is the first time in a long time I've been over here. They did put a memorial up for the kids in the front of the school. They each have their own bench, which is really nice. I've never been to it, but I've seen pictures of it. It looks amazing.
The aftermath, I think, was a bigger issue. How are we going to handle these students who have lost homes, who have lost families, who have lost siblings? And what I remember most is the feeling, more than the events, the feeling of absolute hopelessness.
What could I have changed? What could I have done different? And I know the answer, it's nothing. But it doesn't make it any easier to say that.
I worry for him. I know that he's going to have the exact same demons that these other people. How can anyone go to an elementary school, pull students out of there and not be forever changed? I don't think it's something you all the way get over. And I think it's something he's going to have to work through his entire life. Our marching band did a show that was called Forevermore, and it was based on this tornado. And it took us through the story of the tornado hitting the school, the aftermath of what happened, and how music was actually, they sang music as the tornado went over them, and what they did. It's been a healing process for him. Him working with our students, him working with kids is a healing process for him. And same thing, being able to tell his story to people in another country, to people all over the world, all of that helps. But I'm not for sure you can ever get over that.
I would like to sit down and watch the show. I just never have. You know, I sometimes I've started it. It's all over YouTube. But that show helped me heal so much and helped me be able to talk about it, that I don't know without that show that I'm even, honestly, still a police officer, still working with the band, or maybe even still alive. I don't know.
This storm happened in 2013. Obviously, it's years later. That means that those students are now with us in our band program who were in the actual school at the time. I've had all kinds of comments. I'll give you some examples of parents who will contact me and said, you know, if it wasn't for band, for music, for doing things like traveling to London, for creating experiences that can, I don't want to say erase memories, but create new ones. I think those are some of the most powerful things, because that tornado was an emotional event. Music is an emotional event.
Those kids that are now in high school, 6 years later, who experienced that, most of them don't know my story. But I get to explain it and tell them. This year I got to tell them that for the first time as a band. My story of the day. It's the first time I've ever talked public about it. This is the second.
Not only is Alan coming to London, his whole family's coming to London, and he's been there before. He loves the trip. He has some background in London. He has some family ties to Europe and that side of the country, and so you know, we're just fortunate that the people of London, the great people on the other side of the pond, is willing and so happy to have American bands in their country, because it's another part of the healing for us, and it's fun. It's just flat out fun when we march that parade route and see the joy that we bring people. How can that not be one of the best things you ever experienced in your life?
These days, Alan is using music to heal his emotional scars, and in his spare time, he teaches the drumline at Southmore High School, and he'll be coming to London for their big moment on the world stage. LNYDP, now in its 34th year, is the biggest and most celebrated event of its kind in the world.
Look at the crowds there at Piccadilly Circus.
My talent search for the parade isn't just limited to the USA. There's plenty that I have to set up in London too.
In London, all the theatres stretch up there.
Loved by London, watched by the world, and famed for its cultural diversity, music and sheer joyous fun. With London royalty, the Pearly Kings and Queens.
Hi, welcome to London for the 2020 New Year's Day Parade in London. We are the London Pearly Kings and Queens Society.
Maybe it's because I'm a Londoner that I love London so.
am the Pearly Queen of Royal Greenwich. Once a month we collect in Covent Garden, which we love, with all that history. And yeah, it's a privilege. It's a privilege to collect for charity with my lovely friends and colleagues.
Started with a chap called Henry Croft in about the mid-Victorian era, and has progressed on from there with the market stalls and costermongers around the East End of London to where it is today now, us all dressed in buttons.
That I love London so. Maybe it's because I'm a Londoner that I think of her.
I love it. I love it. And we all do. Actually, we all do it. And we meet so many different people. We meet people from all different cultures. One year we could be next to the Chinese community, another year we're next to like the Indian community. And it's been proud. It's a pride in that, in all the people that take part. It's fantastic.
Maybe it's because I'm a Londoner that I love London town.
So my name's John Spence. I'm Managing Director of a fabulous company called Megaflatables. We're an inflatable manufacturer. We work on a lot of live events with a lot of companies, a lot of organisations. New Year's Day Parade is a bit special. It has a large footfall, a large TV audience, but beyond all of that, it's just a really good, fun, feel-good day, and loads of people love it. We love being part of it. We've made a variety of products and flavours over the years, from circus inflatables and lions and elephants and giant wizards, through to this year's campaign, which is trainers and hearts and London Loves Life. From the moment you get up at stupid o'clock, at 4 o'clock in the morning, and you drive into London, it's dark, there's not many cars on the road, and you get access to places that you would really dream about. And we have a pleasure of a job to actually install amazing inflatables at amazing locations, and then we get to walk down an amazing parade and seeing 500,000 people cheering and clapping and loving what we do. I can't think of a better job.
Hi, my name is Isha Nemesis, and I'm from K&E World. When this came through, I spoke to my guys about it, and I said this is as big as Britain's Got Talent for us, if not even bigger. It's going to put us on an international platform unlike any other show we've done for the entire time we've been together as K&E. We are looking forward to it so much. I mean, we've done some really good stuff up until now, but this for me is the pinnacle of this year. Like, this is going to be the icing on the cake for a year that's been really successful for K&E. So it means a great deal to the whole team, and we're making sure we put together a set that is going to reflect our commitment to making the show a success.
I'd say we are potentially one of the only married couples, stunt riding teams. I wouldn't say it's hard being married and working together at all. Even from the very beginning, we clicked quite well, so we actually enjoy being together all the time.
It can have its challenges though, so we put in hundreds, if not tens of thousands of hours into performing and training for these types of shows.
And it's just such hard work. Like, people don't understand the emotional battles that we go through, and just the difficulty in what we're doing as well, and also the difficulty on our bodies and the pain that we're constantly in. People will go to a chiropractor for backaches because they're sat on the computer, and we're constantly sporting really bad injuries and just having to carry on going.
We love doing the New Year's Day Parade. It's unlike any vibe that we've experienced in the past, you know. So with the parade route itself, it's a constant feed of of people enjoyment and screams and shouting, and it's obviously a pinnacle of the year as well at that time. So yeah, it's really a big deal.
It's an extraordinary honour for us. It's our third year. We started off in a very humble way and each year have grown. I think when we look over the history of Carnaval de Pueblo, which began in 1998, and there were a lot of countries that weren't particularly even recognised, for example Bolivia, Ecuador, they just weren't in our vocabulary. And now we have this amazing array and the opportunity to go down Piccadilly and just show the best of that cultural heritage. And it's just this opportunity to show the full range of what the Latin American culture is and what it does for London. In the UK, we don't have anything to compete. It's just vibrant, great fun, and we just enjoy everybody joining in with us.
The Marshall University Marching Band will be coming to London to perform for something greater than for themselves. They'll be performing in respect and honour for their fallen brothers and sisters who in 1970 sadly died in a tragic plane crash. Jerome A. Gilbert is the popular president of Marshall University.
We think Marshall's a very special place for a number of different reasons. We're a university in a small state, a university that has been here since 1837, named after John Marshall, the fourth Chief Justice, a university that's experienced a lot of changes and a lot of tragedies through its period of existence. In 1970, there was a large plane crash that killed 75 individuals, all the people on board, including our football team. So it was a defining event in the university's history, and we have a fountain on campus that is our memorial fountain, and we have a ceremony every year, and we've not forgotten the 75 that perished in that plane crash. So we talk about rising from the ashes and the ashes of the plane crash, that the football team came back after that. The university went on, the community, which was tremendously impacted by that horrible accident, persevered and pulled together, and it's been a community that's been tightly bound by that and other events in its history. So there's a very strong sense of community, a very strong sense of resiliency on our campus.
And our presence certainly hit the headlines in West Virginia.
In your parade on the 1st of January, the story itself is personal to so many people, and as I came here to work, and I've had family here, and I grew up around the story, it didn't directly impact me until I got a little bit older, and then you realize, oh, my friend's dad was on that plane. You know, I have friends that I know today, and their parents were both on the plane. And so you come to the fountain, to the ceremony in the fall, and you realize now suddenly that, hey, this really did touch these people. And you know, there's actually been some conversation, well, should we still even have that ceremony? Of course we should. That's what rallies us all together as one here in this town. And the more people that you get to know, you find out more and more people were influenced by this. Their cousin, their aunt, their uncle. And sure, it's a generation older than mine, but it was their parents. And therefore you can have that sympathy for them, and then you realize, hey, that impacts my good friend over here. I had the sympathy for them. And then I have become a part of this community. My children go to this school, and I feel a part of that story. I feel as welcome here as if I was a graduate of this school. And this town is welcoming like that. Everyone's welcome to be a part of this story.
Using their strength and everything they went through is just kind of something that I think everybody here at Marshall does. We kind of draw through that, and I mean, stepping out into that parade route, it's going to be really, really nerve-wracking, but I think with that strength behind us, it's going to be very nice. I'm really excited for it, honestly. I'm very excited. I want to go to Abbey Road, of course. I want to go on the London Eye. There's so many things that I want to do. I've never been out of the country before, so this is a very, very cool experience for me.
I think our students are really motivated and excited about everything that they get the opportunity to do here. And one of the beauties of Marshall University are all of the opportunities that these students get to participate in, not just here locally, but also internationally. So they take that excitement of things that they get to do, and they get to show that off in a performance setting. I think we're a very crowd-friendly band, so when we march down the street, we don't just march playing forward and march by you. We turn and we face you, and we interact with you, and we have a lot of fun with the crowd as we pass by. And then when we get to that final grandstand and get the opportunity to perform for them, I think we've got some really exciting music, some West Virginia music to bring to London. One of the beauties of Marshall University is its rich tradition and all of the things that have led Marshall to where it is now. One of those being the plane crash that happened. And so students feel this connection to the university. They feel this connection to the people here. And there's a community that dates back to many, many years ago that the students are able to draw upon as they look to the performances of the future.
It seems that music and mobility, in this case social mobility, are totally intertwined as we arrive in New York. An amazing place. As the song goes, if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. In Port Chester, New York, we find a community that's tough for kids to grow up in. But the Saints Brigade Drum and Bugle Corps is a community-based non-profit organisation where its members learn musical enrichment and performance skills through music and the arts. They strive to instill qualities such as honesty, dedication, teamwork, commitment, and pride to deliver excellence through musical education.
For the New York-based Saints Brigade, music is their lifeblood. Being a part of this group offers their members a special opportunity and a real chance for social mobility. However, first and foremost, it offers their members fun and friendship in what can otherwise be a very hard world.
Frank Barcello is the driving force behind the brigade, working with a wide section of the community.
Minorities, basically Hispanic for the most part, hardworking families. None of us get by easy, so we all struggle together, and they're resilient, they're gritty, they're tough, you'll see through our uniform. It's basically who we are. We're fighters, and the kids are determined, and they're going to make their way through life. And this is, I think it's scratching the surface to parade on what their potential is.
Well, originally I'm not from around here. I'm actually from Yonkers, New York. So it started in 7th grade. They were just like, hey, we need people for our band. And I'm like, oh, a trumpet should be easy. It's only got 3 valves, right? It was not that easy, but I grew a love for the instrument. Eventually, I moved here to Port Chester. I was part of the band here, and I was very excited about that. And then after I graduated, I was recruited here, and then just having the opportunity to be able to do something I'm passionate about, and being not only recognized to the point where I'm going across the world to perform for 65 million people. It feels amazing,
It helps me understand that not everything is about me, out in the world, and when I do other things, other activities like sports at school, and for the high school band where I go to high school, I understand that it's not all about me, it's about everyone.
We're all going to play above our heads, beyond our means. Not a question. We're just sharpening the knives right now, that's all. We'll be ready. And you won't forget us. Promise. We'll make our way down that street for sure. 100%.
For both of us, our first 2 years here, we're doing color guard. And then Frank is so lovely to giving us a chance to actually do 3 years here in the horn line.
The whole thing about helps people from a background. It helped me out in a way, because during the end of my senior year, something did happen where a lot of people didn't really talk to me. High school drama, it happens to everyone. But here, it almost felt like a second home. Everyone was so welcoming, and it was a point where I was afraid to go out in public because I was afraid of what people would say. And now it's to the point where I'm just one of the rest. I'm a part of a family, and it feels great.
Now my other kid's coming tonight. His father was the junk man in town. He used to pick up all the scrap metal. He put all his kids through college. This kid was with me 7 years. Got a Series 7. He's now working for Morgan Stanley down in Manhattan on the desk, trading down Wall Street, and he's going to come tonight. His name is Gilberto.
That's good.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Gilberto.
I'll tell you one thing. Being in a drum corps, you have to have your ducks in a line, and everything has to be kind of tip-top shape, right? So you have to be on time. You have to put the work in. You have to be punctual and be organized. The corps has been definitely a big catalyst for social mobility. Part of that is that it just trains you to have a certain level of self responsibility, discipline at a very young age, and I think that helps you very much when you're going out into college and having to be responsible and be on your own and then kind of make your own way. It's you have to have that certain level of responsibility.
Mike Miller is the biggest uniform maker in the United States. He does all the top drum corps and probably 80% of all the marching bands. He's one of our sponsors. He's given us a new uniform every year for 8 years. 8 years.
That's quite something.
Amazing.
Yeah.
The best. Unbelievable. So you guys need to put us out there and we're going to blow the place apart, I promise you. Politely.
Come fly with me let's fly away.
Wow, what a week, and what a surreal place to end it. The iconic TWA Hotel at JFK, bringing the flair and style of the Fab 50s and the swinging 60s right the way into the 21st century. It really has been quite a trip.
Over 12,000 miles, we've met some incredible performance groups, all with inspirational backstories, but the best news is they're all coming to London for LNYDP 2020.
These and many other stories lead to London's New Year's Day parade, and they'll all come together in London on the 1st of January.